So, welcome everyone to the third of these Wild Talks, which are a series of conversations that we have organized as part of our exhibition at the Porto Design Biennale, Wild Care, together with Ana Jara. And it's a third one, so we have had the pleasure of starting the series with live conversation, physically present with Pedro Costa in Porto when we were opening the exhibition, and last week, Ana was hosting a really nice conversation with Sofia Neuparth, and this week we have the pleasure of welcoming a very well-known, internationally acclaimed architect, Marco Casagrande, who is with us via Zoom. We don't have the possibility of meeting physically in the same space, but we can count with his presence through the computer. And I guess that it's difficult to introduce someone like Marco, but it's important to maybe mention a few things. He's currently a professor at Bergen School of Architecture and is of course the principal of the office Casagrande Architects in Finland. He's also a bio-urbanist and has a very large experience of working in many pedagogical contexts with students in many different countries throughout many years. His work has also been exhibited many times in different art and architecture biennales and triennales and fairs, and has won several prizes, among which the Red Dot Design Award in 2012 and the European Prize for Architecture in 2013. So it's really a pleasure for us to have Marco today. Thank you for joining us.
For having me.
Thank you, Marco.
And I just want to maybe, because we haven't had the chance to, these talks, they are organized like this, so we haven't had the chance to discuss too much in advance what this talk would be about exactly. We of course have selected a couple of his projects, and it's been a very hard selection. So I think that we could have chosen many other projects from your practice, from your years of practice, but these two were particularly interesting and intriguing in relationship with the kinds of ideas that we have put together in this title of Wild Care that we have made up for the exhibition. There's something, I think, very caring and also very wild in both Nomad Sauna and the Ruin Academy, and maybe you disagree, and that's also why we want you to explain and to tell us. But we think that there are very interesting things in those projects that meet the putting together in this notion of wild care. There's something about that story with Nomad Sauna that happens in a way in the wild, in a very kind of like difficult, extreme, maybe almost extreme conditions, with a lot of difficulties for the students participating and for the people participating to in a way take care of themselves, to harvest the minimal needs necessary for keeping warm and eating during the days in which they are at the same time thinking about how to build this sauna and then building it. So it's not just about building the thing, but it's also about building an experience of holding each other in warmth and in nutrition or survival. And I was, of course, inspired by this project when thinking about wild care. And in the case of the Ruin Academy, it's of course, like when you hear the name, it's already like a shock, because you think like, is the academy in ruins, or is the academy inside the ruin, or what is it? And then of course both are very interesting notions. Like it's really cool to think that actually the academy, which is supposed to be this institution which is quite ancient and strong and powerful, is in ruins, maybe finally in ruins. And it's also very interesting if we actually take a ruin, something that is decaying, and we make some kind of pedagogical, educational space or experience in it, so that it doesn't fall down completely, but it becomes a place where we can, in a way, nurture each other. So I don't know. These are, of course, interpretations that I do, but I think that the two projects are incredibly inspiring for the kinds of things that we've been gathering in the exhibition, and the kinds of approaches to architecture and design that we've been interested in. I don't know, maybe Anna wants to add something, or otherwise we can just jump to Marco's presentation. I don't know what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I might say that these two projects were kind of one of the first projects we had already to deal with. So it was kind of the first approach to architecture. The exhibition is on wildcare, and we have film stories that are not architectural, but these two projects were kind of, we faced our own matters of our discipline, and we also thought they were both very interesting in the sense of this idea of education that could be problematized with this kind of academy, and the other one was about standing in some kind of space that I would say was unstable, almost unbearable, and being able to survive and to take care and to build even. So I would give the word to Marco, so can deal with these matters.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can. So you see me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, greetings from Finland, and I am explaining these two projects, Ruin Academy and Nomad Sauna, but somehow to in order to take you to this kind of like a realm of thinking or realm of presence with these particular two works, I need to a bit open it up, like where it is coming from, and so on. Not too much, but some. Yeah, but like Alberto said, so we have a small office in Helsinki, Finland, and this is like how we look in an ideal place, like on a construction site. For me, architecture goes like this, that the design process or conceptualizing or thinking or dreaming is almost like praying, because the construction site is like the thing. So I just pray this, meditate and pray these things to happen, and it goes through drawing or talking with students or being in dialogue with people and not giving up, and in the end maybe it starts to become a construction site. And that's like a big gift. Construction site is the gift of architecture. So we are a small office, and we work a little bit here and there, and teach, especially me, I teach all the time or do research. And we have got some rewards, and we've been selected 5 times to Venice Biennale, and little bit of here and there. So this is leading us now towards the Ruin Academy. In 2003, I was invited by the Taipei city government to make some like outlines for ecological restoration for Taipei Basin. It's a river basin, couple of rivers, and then urbanization. But I found, like, I got some kind of data from the city, and I was studying it, but it was more like reading, let's say, a manual of a Volkswagen Golf. That there was no people in this data at all. It was something else, like the urban mechanisms mainly. And so I could not work with this, and I had a time limit too, so I was slightly panicking that like what to do. There's 7 million people and somehow supposed to deal with that, and no way. And then some of the local professors started me to see unofficial Taipei, like night markets and whatever, urban farms, community gardens, illegal settlements, and so on. And this explained for me very easily what kind of people lives in Taipei, why the people are using the streets as they are, and why the city is so good. But it became this very curious realization of the distance between the official central governed city and the real people. And then I ended up in this settlement called Treasure Hill, which the city government was at the moment destroying. It's an illegal settlement at the time, at more or less 400 households. They had bulldozed away the first 3 layers of this terraced settlement, but because there is no streets inside, not wide enough for machines, so the bulldozers could not climb to the hill. So what the city government decided to do is to cut all the connections between houses, so that instead of being an urban organism with a nervous network, it just becomes a place of many houses, a place of many constructions which cannot communicate with each other. No organism anymore. And then just left it there, slowly dying. So I reversed this process. It's an urban farming community, so first thing what the city government did was to destroy their farm. So we restarted the farm. And then the next step was to recreate this nervous network again, so that these individual houses can communicate with each other, to construct again the steps and the little bridges and so forth, so that it becomes one urban organism or bio-urban organism. And for this, due to time limitations and other too, I didn't have any manpower and also not budget for this kind of thing, because I was supposed to do some sort of sketching there. So I went to give lectures or presentations in local universities, maybe 5 of them, and explaining what I tried to do and what's going on in here. And the students were like immediately like a super responsive, and so were the teachers. So in the end, I had 200 students with their professors, like squadron leaders, and like boom. And then we could deal. It's a part of a city, 400 households. And like then start this very fast reconstruction. Like, and for me, the fastest way to reach architectonic scale is with wood. Wood is the fastest. Bamboo is fast, but anyhow. Like, and to make these steps again, connections between houses, like this guy could not even get home anymore. Like, okay, he can get home and there's power again. And this I did not realize, this kind of power. Like in Taipei, which is tropical or subtropical, the nature is, I don't know, let's say 100 times faster than in Finland. So it's really an architectonic element, and you need to deal with it. So here is a bench, take a rest. This is a window. It's like a very short time you have a window if you just like deal with it, nature. And then this notion of understanding like this, let's say, first I was thinking that the nature is eating the man-made, that the man-made like architecture or let's say community or even a city, whatever infrastructure design is man-made, and nature is independent, it's just one big mind. And it's somehow I like felt that it's like destroying us or like attacking us. But then when I see how this community of Treasure Hill is working with nature, it's very different, because they believe in local knowledge. And local knowledge means understanding the site-specific conditions of nature and to be as lazy as possible. So you have to regard nature as a co-architect. So in here too, there is always this shifting balance, like what is man-made, what is totally nature, and how nature is reading the man-made. What is the process of ruining? It is a very constructive process, the ruining. So, okay, working there and like understanding a bit of this ruining process, of the presence of the ruining process, and then this distance to the official city. So then I somehow started to think of just 3 generations. That the first generation city is the city because of nature. Like Taipei is here because of nature. It is there because of the rivers. It is there because of the jungle, how the mountains are protecting it from the typhoons. The big rains are washing down topsoil from the mountains to the flooding valley, which is extremely fertile. So it can afford density, even a city. It is there because of nature. And the second generation city is the city as we somehow know it today, industrial city, which has claimed independence from nature. And this kind of fiction of independence is, of course, the start of all pollution. But then what's curious with this ruin, like when you have an urban organism, which is a ruin. So that's leading to a thinking of a third generation city, because industrialism is very young. So what is the third generation city? What is the organic ruin of the industrial city? And this I was thinking there when working with Treasure Hill, or because of working with Treasure Hill. Treasure Hill is matriarchal, and this is like also a realization for me, and later on I confirmed it in many places, but most of these do-it-yourself settlements or independent settlements, they are matriarchal. City is a very patriarchal structure, and industrial city is like a pubertanic patriarchal. It's not much brain, but these like illegal settlements, community gardens, urban farms, they're always matriarchal. There is always some sort of an anarchist grandmother who is actually running the show. In here it was Mrs. Chen. She was 86 years old when I started working. And when she started cooperating with me, all the village started following, and then the work was like relatively easy. So here we started interviewing Mrs. Chen because she remembers in one human lifetime how the river was changed and how the first generation city became the polluting industrial city. It's not a fiction, it's just one human lifetime. And she remembers everything, when this and that fish did not come back anymore, and when was the time that even the dog don't eat the fish anymore. So it's all there, not the fiction. And then we got so serious with this local knowledge that these people are still living there, like Mrs. Chen and then some fishermen and so on. Almost any grandmother, grandfather that you talk, there was a lot of knowledge, organic knowledge. But how to deal with that, because it was totally absent in the university. I was teaching at the Tam Kang University, architecture department, but this kind of thing is not present at all. Not even with the humanistic sciences, sociology, anthropology, and so forth. It's always a bit remote control. But like immediately when you talk to these people, this knowledge is like pouring in. But how to interpret? So as we know, the university has so many disciplines nowadays, so it has turned against the university, the idea of university. University is originally for sharing knowledge from all different corners, but now all these different corners have become disciplines, and every corner has a king, and these kings don't talk. So it's like an anti-university, it's just a collection of disciplines. And to deal with this local knowledge, we had to somehow break that structure or open it up. So that's the beginning of the Ruin Academy. We occupy one abandoned apartment building, 5 floors high, in central Taipei, as a no man's land. It did not belong to any university. And then we declared it's a research center, multidisciplinary research center. So the architects, landscape architects, horticulturists, and social sciences, engineers, anybody can step in. And then we start communicating with the Taipei City Government Department of Urban Development, that we will deal with the issues that you cannot even talk about, like Treasure Hill. It cannot even be mapped. So what was very surprising is that this very stiff organization was still like, it was possible. So unofficially they were commissioning us. Unofficially they were like showing us places what they cannot deal with. And unofficially we can. And we could make them research for them and produce data and so forth. And operate free from disciplines. Of course, the city government is even more hierarchical than university, or maybe the same. So in here, first, what we did is we knock off all the windows. Actually, we ruined this house. So take all the windows away, grow bamboo instead of windows, then break all the interior walls. So it's only the primary structure is left. And then start thinking of living. So now you're here, you see bamboo growing from the windows, and also the basement was blown open so that we could reach the original ground and start growing something from there instead of these thin layers of asphalt and concrete. Here goes the interior walls. And then when it was kind of ruined or stripped to the basic structure or primary structure, so then we start drilling holes to the building with a diamond blade. Start from the roof and then all the way down. 15 centimeters, 6-inch holes, so that it can rain inside. Because when you have water, topsoil, and light, things will start growing. Yes, no windows, but bamboo outside, so it takes away the storm waters from entering too much inside, and the urban noise, which is worse than storm waters. This is the basement, growing some trees. Some lady playing cello. And behind the lady, there's a pile of dirt. And in the dirt is growing taro. It's a root, you can eat this root. It's quite almost like potato. Big one though. And then this bed is on wheels. So if it's raining straight on top of you, you can roll to some little bit more dry corner. These are bunk beds in 2 floors for the students and researchers. And then there are working tables, which are also growing things. And some, I guess, vegetable garden in the end. Yeah, starting. But yeah, living in these kind of conditions and before leaving, like first ruining the whole building and then like getting a big pile of wood and then constructing everything. Like if you want to sleep, so make a bed and so forth. Yeah, first survival, then comfort, then comes innovation or beauty. And part of this survival was for us to talk with the neighbors because this was an abandoned building that we took. Let's call this academic squatting. So we just occupied this building, but like the people could have roasted us away anytime. So we need to go to the neighbors and meet them and explain what to do or what we are doing. And I think it's insulting to talk with normal people with drawings. It's too much. And so we made a huge model, and then we carry this huge model like some sort of a small god around the neighborhood and explain what we try to do. And when they see the model, okay, here is this and that, it communicates. And then it was easy, and they say, well, just do it. But with drawings, it would have never happened. So this is part of the model, and this is the real thing. Fireplace, like some sort of caveman style. And the 5th floor is a sauna, public sauna, best sauna in the Pacific. This is the sauna from inside. And this really became like the intelligence center. Like it's so out of the blue, like why to have a sauna first of all in Taipei, and then all these kind of like cultural issues and many other things too. But when people really enter the sauna and start talking, and wow, it really works. It's an engine. Then this is from outside, not much in the facade though. But this is a very big inspiration for urban future. It's an urban bonsai. So this tree has been growing on the wall of the Ruin Academy. I don't know exactly how long because I have been following it since 2010 only. But until now it has not grown an inch. So it is as it is. This is the existence maximum. So this tree knows exactly how much topsoil the wind is bringing in. It knows the rains, winds, and so on, and it knows architecture. So it is staying there. Around this corner, I think it is not gambling more. You know, if it grows bigger, it will fall down. It knows. And this is around different corner. It's the same species of a tree, but this is 5 floors high. And like the roots are not touching ground. They go into the building. So then we get really curious, like how is this possible? And we hire a structural engineer with a scanning device to go for the slabs to the slabs of the building and check out like where are the roots going. And then after a while, like some days he come back and he explains that the results and say that there is actually 2 sets of roots. One set of roots goes immediately to the water and sewage system of the house. And the other set of roots is spread out and it goes to the concrete slabs between the different floors. And it's like inside the concrete slabs. So the tree is holding the house as a primary structure. And it is it knows exactly how much people are flushing toilet. So it's having the human energy and human water systems as like a life providing force and architecture as a structural necessity. So this tree would not be here without people, and it would not be here without architecture. Without people, it would die. So this is the 3rd generation condition, like where the man-made is shared by nature and human nature. And nature works in this way in all the scales. Like the only rule of nature is existence maximum. Like the biggest possible life-providing force in a given situation. And city is also a situation. And if we are not dealing with that existence maximum force, we are pollution. City is pollution and architecture in general is pollution until we are in dialogue or let it happen. And this is what normal people do. So the pink house is Taipei World Trade Center. And then the green area is the most expensive land in Taipei City. So 3 banks had been fighting for it for decades. But it's so expensive, so none of them gained control. So the anarchist grandmothers attacked, and they occupied this place and turned it into a community garden. And it's been there for decades. There is some containers already where, because the people, the students, when they come from the school, they do homework here. They carry water for the grandmothers. It's a real culture. And the grannies, when penetrating through the very thin layers of the concrete and asphalt and reaching this original ground, means reaching local knowledge. All the surrounding city is just a fiction. The grannies are touching the local knowledge in this case and growing it actually. These are all the illegal urban farms and gardens, community gardens, illegal settlements, all kind of like do-it-yourself settlements in or communities in Taipei Basin. 7 million people. And this is an actual map of urban acupuncture. So urban acupuncture is not an academic theory or even a philosophy. It's what people are just doing. They are penetrating through the very thin layers of concrete and asphalt and tuning the industrial city towards the organic, towards nature. Probably it is like in big scale, like this mapping scale, it is subconscious. In very local scale, when the grannies are growing the mangoes or whatever, so of course it's very like a real. But in big picture, when you see this kind of map of urban acupuncture, it's quite shocking. And like centrally governed cities or whatever hierarchies should be very aware of this. This is very constructive bio-urbanism. No planning. Here is the Taipei Basin, 7 million people with some rivers. And this is the official solution, what the city has to give, how to deal with the place when it is separated from local knowledge. Since 1960s, there's been a flood wall, 12 meters high, reinforced concrete. Absolute no connection between the mechanical industrial urbanism and nature. Then another example of the Ruin Academy, this is in South Taiwan, in Taidong or Taitung, and a different scenario. So in here we occupy a very old Japanese sugar factory in the center of Taitung. And this Taitung is special in many ways, but for example, in this way that it has a very strong population of Taiwanese aboriginals. They are not Chinese people, they are Polynesian people, but very connected with nature compared to the farming Chinese or the urbanized Chinese. So in here, like I wanted to turn this abandoned factory into an organic machine. How to use this industrial infrastructure, but actually generate nature and also some things to eat. But farming is one way of thinking of eating, and then you have the nomadic thinking of just harvesting from nature. So these two knowledges were somehow trying to be interpreted and included in this Ruin Academy here. This is tribesman from Amis tribe, hard to say doing what, some sort of ceremony, and like a fireplace. But here you also see the parts of the jungle which is starting. Because the farming Chinese, they came with their ideas like what is growing, but these Amis people, they knew exactly what plants from the jungle would and mountains would like survive here and there, what they need, and how they will start occupying this factory. Here is some more plants already coming up. it's a Japanese sugar factory. But same thing like with the Ruin Academy in Taipei, so we actually have to break the human control. And if architecture is manifesting human control, we have to break the architecture. So here too, the roof was ripped open here and there, so it rains inside, but more than rain, that insects and birds are coming in. Because we could use the roofing system of the factory, and instead of taking the rainwaters away, we could collect the rainwater to these yellow big tanks, and then by gravity start taking it to the growing jungle. The start of the jungle again. But quite big factory. You enter with a train. And also, like, so interesting this that when working with the farming Chinese or working with the Aboriginals, so it's like not much to explain. When they understand that there is no control, that actually they can do, or it's open. So a lot of things start happening. But if you enter as an architect and say, okay, I'm gonna grow some trees here, it's no use. But here, yeah, no, whatever, things are growing. Mr. Water tanks, huge. Some student work, I don't know what it is. It's like a reactor or something and growing some wonderful things. Yeah. Fireplaces. We have a lot of students, even from China, people flying here and want to participate. A bit weird. Reactor. Like some sort of dance scenography maybe with jungle. Water gardens. Small jungle starting. Beautiful factory. And it is actually an organic machine originally too. It's powered by steam. Here are the students. Yeah, but this somehow touching photo for me. This is Marlon, my son, and so like not very old in the picture, but like these things are so intense that they need total presence. I cannot design these. I don't know even what will happen. I just like some sort of approach is starting, and then I need to be present and continue. So here is babies too. Then, like a small example, what local knowledge can do. So I was working in this Tamkang University, and I was so interested in the ruining processes and urban acupuncture, which were like my main focus, teaching and research. So at some point, I felt that I cannot live in a house anymore. So I said to the dean, Chen, Mr. Chen, and that I cannot live in a house anymore, that you must find me a ruin, that I'm moving to a ruin. And in the end, he found, quite fast actually, found a combination of a tea factory ruin and a rice factory ruin, which had burned down, but red bricks, so I moved there. And then start observing the ruin with time, how nature reads architecture, and then how to communicate with that kind of message, or how to be in dialogue with nature through architecture. So here I'm on the roof and I'm trying to fix a roof, some Fujian style red brick roof, and I'm there. And then the local guy said to me that, no, here is the roof working over there. I'm using cement, trying to put those tiles. I recycled some tiles, but use cement and try to put them together. But this guy, then he comes and say that your roof is not good. And like I said that, no, come on, that I've been studying all these roofs and like, what's wrong with it? And he said that, yeah, that your cement is wrong, that your cement is hard. I said, yeah, isn't that what it's supposed to be? He said, no, it must be flexible, like the skin of a snake. That when an earthquake comes and you have this hard cement, your whole roof will crack. But if you have flexible cement, all these little tiles will move like a skin of a snake, and then you survive the earthquake. And then I was asking like how to make cement which is flexible. And then he explained that you must put inside seaweed, dry seaweed. So a lot of lime and dry seaweed. And then I was doing this dry seaweed trick and it becomes like a glue. Okay, and then I was putting this gluey cement and my roof tiles were, I guess, coming at least a bit better. He's showing me the old cement that there is a lot of lime and then this like a seaweed. But then I'm on the roof and I have this red bucket. Where is my weak cement? So this thing starts coming in. It's Jimenez SP, a killer wasp, and he's stealing my cement. So it comes in, goes away for 2-3 days. And I'm curious that, is it so hardcore that it can eat cement? It can eat this like weak cement. That, And at some point it stopped coming. So I forget the whole deal. After maybe 2 months, I went to the downstairs of the rice factory and I found this. So this is the Jimenez SP, what he has done with my cement. So it immediately understands how to use cement and how to make concrete. It is mixing this weak cement with a little bit of stones, a little bit of straw or pieces of wood, and has like casted this vault structure for his babies. It's a concrete cocoon. And like quite curious, like what is this now? Like an industrial insect. And like then I was like waiting to see that the babies are gone and then try to somehow analyze this. There is like ventilation systems and I become curious that this is like a new level for me too. And like then I start to think if I'm like an insect, like how does it look inside, or can I make a theater like this using just the same design like the Jimenez SP and just like enlarge it and like how to make weak concrete in a big scale, and just went into this insect architecture and of cheap photoshopping people inside, and but like if it's like a theater in the central of Taipei, that should we go this way? Is this like the real knowledge? And well, anyhow, so then a little bit more about this insect architecture, because this starts cooking inside me because of this Jimenez SP. So then I did this. This is in Shenzhen in South China. It's just using bamboo. Yeah. It is just using bamboo. There is no nails, nothing. So all these Chinese cities are built by migrating workers. They come from countryside. So then I talk with the migrating workers, like, come on, if you come from countryside, you must have local knowledge. So what can you really build instead of those boring skyscrapers? And in this case, the guys were from a province called Guangxi, and they said that we can do anything from bamboo. I said, okay. So then we were sketching together 1-to-1 scale, straight to the ground. It's an abandoned site, so straight to the ground, that can we go this dimension and how high and so on. And then start sketching 1-to-1 scale in 3D with bamboo and do this. So I asked also like what do you need? And they say that they need some sort of a place to play guitar and sing karaoke. But yeah, okay. So like an unofficial social club. And so this was improvised in 5 days. 32 meters long and was it 7 meters high? And we have to pile dirt to this certain wall on the ground. You see this terracotta color. And I was asking like, why is this dirt? that are the arches like spinning out and so on, you will see. Okay, and then the pile of dirt. But it's fantastic because this is a very weak architecture. The whole structure is very wobbly and like you could never think that it will stand until it's like done and it becomes this one bucket. And it's very sturdy, very weak, but so strong that when you enter inside, the whole city disappears. It is so different space and so like soft, female, very, 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 very nice. Whole city is gone. And this is the stage for the karaoke or the guitar. Very good microclimate inside compared to the surrounding city. Fireplace, migrating workers. At night time they put one construction light inside so it becomes a disco. Very good lines when you compare it to the skyscraper. And not one nail, nothing, just bamboo. And very lazy construction, no force at all. Like weaving slowly together. Some sort of cocoon. I was thinking all the time when I see them working that they are like the kind of industrial insects, making this cocoon for them. Some curators from the Shenzhen Hong Kong Biennale or Triennale. Bosses of the migrating workers. And here is beautiful, it's some sort of a karaoke event is cooking up. The whole thing is smoking. And this is like why to pile the dirt. So these guys, the Guangxi guys from these migrating workers knew this from the beginning. That while we pile this dirt, the creepers will overtake very fast. They will camouflage it totally. The microclimate comes better, and you can be even lazier when you are cooperating with nature or regarding nature as the co-architect. Like, of course, it's stupid to work otherwise. And then we jump to the Nomad city, very different climate. So here I am working together with a Norwegian architect called Hans Petter Bjørnodal. And like we are like thinking that again the same way that instead of working for some university, that can we just launch the place and then this learning process will start happening. And we decided that this place will be a frozen lake up in the North Norway, that there is actually nothing. It's just a frozen lake. And we put out this poster to Facebook, I guess, saying that there will be a Nomad City workshop for Aurora Observatory. And then a lot of people start contacting. And like, then we know that it's coming real. People want to do this, and okay. So then we went to this place. This is Hans Petter Bjørnodal making this hole for fishing, ice fishing. Some students on the background. And here is the lake, Rössvatnet. Interesting, totally Arctic lake, and a lot of good fish inside, trout, Arctic char, and so on, and like a, yeah, and then this white surface, mountains there, so entering there was like very humbling. It's a very strong site, and like, but also very welcoming, like, okay, deal with me if you can. And no, yeah, here is, the work is starting. Some students, they come from many different universities and different backgrounds, mainly architecture, landscape architecture, and sustainable urban design, but other people too. And like, basically, no material budget, and just start working. So, but like we had some anchor, like one anchor was that we do one collective work, which would be a sauna. And then individually the students can do like whatever response to the situation. And it's like the lake had some people around it, so we could talk to the local people who were very supportive to us. But like main thing was this like presence with the situation. And the conditions were a lot different than in Taipei or Shenzhen. And like, but this like, you could see these like frozen students, like the more they freeze, the more focused they get. And there is just no way for any bullshit. It's a frozen lake and like deal with it. And so it became like this collective, very interesting feeling that the lake became almost like a shaman drum. And the students were like becoming very sensitive with it. And like drumming the lake and like what's coming out from it. And doing their little works. And really not given up. Not one student went home. And this was maybe 2 weeks there. There is already some structures on the lake where they can maybe get warm or make food or do fishing inside. And local people helping a lot. This was the sketch of the Nomad Sauna. At some point, we thought that it needs to move on the lake. Where it stops, you can feed it up somehow and make a hole to the ice so you can go swimming or maybe do ice fishing with it so you can actually survive with it too. Here the sauna is starting to shape up. One of the student works, a student from China, and this was a dream house or dream, yeah, I guess dream house, yeah. Now here is the Nomad Sauna now. So you have a sauna on skis. You need a bunch of people or maybe all of these students to actually drag it around. And then sheltered on the back, you have a pile of wood. You need it for heating up the sauna. That's about it. Now here is the firewood in the end. And the welcoming door. And inside is this. There's this like corner with an improvised stove inside. On the corner, you make it hot and then make a hole to the ice in one corner, the other corner. So when you are up on the sauna, maybe with good luck, it's like, let's say 80 degrees. And then you jump to the frozen lake inside there. Or then you can tune it into 20 degrees and it's a house. Or you can do fishing from the corner. Like a kind of a civilization. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very much for an extensive presentation of the stories. I think it's really inspiring, and not only because of the images, but also because of the way that you talk about it. There's something I think just to jump in directly with something that I think it's been coming up in almost all the, like throughout the explanations that you've given in all the examples, it comes back and you say it in different ways, which is this idea of presence, the intensity of presence within the situation, which seems to be you have also mentioned an idea of involvement, the intensity of involvement, but you refer to this word of presence and being present, which I immediately, of course, link with our understanding of care, and this intensity, this degree of involvement or this degree of presence is what I would suggest that has this wild character. So the wild is not so much here a kind of wilderness or a wing to wilderness, but it's a wing to the intensity of presence. That's why it's wild care, because it requires from you to be there and to be in this intensity of presence. You were also showing the images with your kid, almost as a baby, but also now when you were talking about the students, almost frozen, but because of being frozen in a way, like their focus becoming wilder in a way. So I really like that. Maybe you can say something more about that, or Anna, or we can mix it.
Yeah, it's like this. The word presence has somehow stuck with me because in a very early work, I was talking and cooperating with a choreographer and dancer called Ray Jokela, and he just through this similar kind of talks. So I was listening to him, and I was talking a little bit about, asking a little bit about presence, and he answered immediately, like, presence is the key of all art. And then, like, for me, it was like a shock that of course it is. And but then again, nobody told me this in the architecture university, for example. It was no talk about that. And like, so with this kind of architectural university background, I was more like drifting towards some sort of like remote controlled art, which is very, very different to this being present, and like, but then hearing from this like a dancer, so like it was very good for me. And like now, if I look back to all the works or the good work, so presence is the key. Like you have to understand, for example, with Taipei, I don't speak any Chinese. I am just present. Like usually I start doing things, for example, totally wrong, and I understand it. But I know that it's better than not doing anything. So like Treasure Hill too, I started with some sort of bulldozing. And I didn't even know like what I'm bulldozing. I just wanted to make a hole. And like then it started.
Yeah, it started with this movement that you when you enter the space. I thought, like, when you explained the project in Taipei, you were getting deeper and deeper in the city until you found these places that you entered. You dare to invade or to enter in a way that is kind of very present. Then you start to break, and break is also some material that we were talking about this when we talk about wildcare. We are dealing with this idea of unmaking and breaking, and also about being able to do this is a little bit dismantling, to understand and to see the things from a different point of view. Like when you do this building with these openings, it's kind of counter nature in a way that the building is not meant to be open, but then you realize it is, and then the nature is there. You realize that it's for me it's amazing, because now you explain that, but I was already amazed with the drawings and with these bamboos. But I couldn't understand it properly as now. Yeah, you need to be present to be able to do this kind of movement. You need to, as you said, lose control. You lose the control of things. Can you explain this better? Because this is very interesting for in this curatorial proposal, and also for to destroy the idea of a project or something you project, you know. So
I know, yeah. I know what you are asking. It's like when this thing is happening, that I know that it is approaching to a level that I need to break the control, or I need to find a way how to open this thing up. That like when I'm doing sketching or when I'm doing designing, and when I'm trying to think like what will be or what will happen. So I know all the time that I'm controlling. And I know that there will become this time that if I just follow this control, something will happen, but it's not the real thing. It's more almost like a Trojan horse. I'm building the Trojan horse, but I know there is something inside. So I'm doing this. I know I need to build the Trojan horse too. The thing inside will not happen just like that. So I'm building it and like designing it, and I get this horror that, you know, is this the time now that it will not happen? You know, the magic will not happen, or there is nothing inside. It's a horror, and always the same feeling.
Yeah.
And then like and like I try to break the control, but I'm still like I'm trying too much. I'm still controlling it, and I don't know what's happening. And then something happens. It's always accident. I believe in accident. I don't believe in control. So for example, I go to sleep on the site. Like I'm designing something in the jungle, and in the end, like, oh, I cannot do anything. I go and sleep there. And boom, then I wake up, and then the ants are everywhere. And boom, I wake up, and okay, ants are here, everywhere. And then immediately, like very small wind is coming up. Oh, now the wind comes from there. Daytime it came from there. And then the moon is there. And like, and maybe it's the ants who made it. But like then, like, you know, maybe I'm bitten everywhere, and I'm like this. But then I just know that now I know the site. Or now the site let me in. And now I can really start. And then
there is this membrane between you and the
because the site is a portal.
Yeah.
Nature is the real thing, because for me architecture has only one duty. It's a mediator between human nature and the rest of nature. That's the duty of architecture. It's an instrument connecting us. Okay. But like because if you do that, you need to communicate with the big mind of nature, and then the site is the portal.
Yeah, I think I can maybe try to follow up there with this accident, this belief in accident you have as a kind of means of breaking control, or as a way out of this loop of control or trap of control. And then an accident somehow helps us, or helps you break out of that. And I think sometimes also like quite, it seems stubbornly like engaged in a way, inviting the accident, no, like calling for the accident, or like you were showing this picture of this guy that was doing this dance, and in a way it's almost like a kind of calling off the accident. I see that in the making of the holes, in the 5-story building or in the 6-story building. When you make the holes, you're making the holes, and yeah, maybe we know that if we make the holes, the water is going to come in, but there's also going to be other things coming in that we don't know exactly, and there might be accidents coming. So I link the accident also with the practice of unmaking. You were also saying this thing of ruining as a verb, which I also thought it was really nice. That ruining is not a thing. It's not a ruin that we should preserve or restore, but ruining is a process. So we are cooperating in the ruining, so that these plants can grow, so that these things can happen, so that accidents can occur. And that is architecture.
Yes, because like when we talk with Anna about this control and opening up the control, the other way of saying it is I have to ruin my design. Because design tries to replace nature. And like that's the other way of talking about control. And when you ruin your own design, it's like somehow opening it up so that the accident or the nature can step in.
We could say that it's about a lot of it's about predicting and about unexpecting also.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
there is this movement of prediction that runs for most of the projects. We have to predict, and then another one that you search that is from unexpectedness, coming till you, like it crashes.
And they can really go hand in hand. They are not like they can help each other.
It's last week we had the conversation with Sofia Neuparth. She's a choreographer, and she was exactly talking about this. She was exactly talking about this. I think this is really shaping a lot of things. This has a shape that can be exact for a moment, exact in time. Then you can, and if you are able to deal with accept, deal. I have this thing of that you were calling. Like for this last building of not the last building, the building that is in with bamboos that is super flexible. You can really feel it as this bubble, like it's flexible, but then it's flexible and elastic in the sense and the purpose of it. And we talk so frequently about flexibility in a way that is cynical or fake in the way that we search for that, but it's already there, pre-existing everything. That's the magic of these moments, this flexibility, this project that is showing exactly this. So maybe you can, I don't know, maybe you can because you worked with this. So I'm like from outside assisting and wanting to question this exactness of this process that you make, that the materials that you work with within this.
There's like this flexibility is something like you have to be open for change, and you have to be open for this realization that you just don't know enough. Or like also when I went to Shenzhen, I had this idea of insect architecture, but it's only when I talk with this the guys from Guangxi, and like when it was like when you are like sitting down actually on Earth, and they have hard days on the construction sites, the real construction sites, and you are sitting there and talking with them. And like when they feel you that you are really there, like you are not the boss, or you are not like a designer, or maybe they don't even know what is designer, but you are not like the controller, but you are someone who needs them, and you are someone who needs them to actually construct, and that they have the knowledge, and I need to understand it. So then they explain it. And of course, maybe it becomes personal for them too. And like, then this dialogue, which is like with these kind of like souls, because we don't speak same language either. And then it turns into architecture, which has no drawings and no mathematics. It's just their understanding, and I'm trying to interpret them. And then we are like molding it on the side, like almost like a sculpturing like time. And then this becomes there and the time freezes and it becomes this space. And then we can enter. And then it's like, it's very rewarding for me, but also for them. It's like very humbling thing. And it has absolutely no economical value. Like you cannot sell this thing to anyone. It just becomes. So there is this like a very, very like hurting thing with architecture, that architecture is actually real. And when you like experience it. So it's, yeah, it's somehow problematic to not be without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels like we could go for ages. We should probably like start approaching some kind of end, not necessarily now, but soon. I think that there's a sequence, no? Like you've been talking about accident, about ruining, things that help us kind of break control, being open for this idea of change, and being open for this idea of not knowing or not knowing enough. There's been also a few moments in which it's emphasized as well how what you call nature or sometimes non-human things or the weather should also be allowed to be actively participating, being co-architects, you say. I think this is also super nice. We in the exhibition we were putting some of your cases close to this other case of Alexander Brodsky, where he was making that small bar and there's this metallic grid, and then it's the kind of like frozen water, the frost that becomes this layer and becomes really the envelope of the thing. No? So it's almost inviting the frost to be a co-architect. I think that in some of your work this is really appearing in a beautiful way, and for me it's linked to this other thing you were saying that has to do with the force of growth and the speed of growth. In the case of Taipei's tropical climate, and the speed is really high. In other cases, it's about the extreme temperatures. But what you were saying, existence maximum, this kind of exuberance of growth, which in the planet is somehow like thanks to the sun that gives us all the energy, and then all plants and all living beings are like just taking it and growing as much as they can according to the possibilities that they are given. And I think that that's also something that as architects we don't tend to be told to pay attention to, and I think it's also really beautiful that you're doing that. Just because I feel like some of these things that you're talking about, as you were saying, presence is the key of all art, that your friend told you. But I think that also some of these things, they are not just for the sake of this engagement with art, but they are also like this opposition for or against these disciplinary limits that you were saying, no? That university has become a series of like academic disciplines, and that's almost like an anti-university. And I think that there's also something wild in that resistance, and in the kinds of works that you're developing, that is not just about engaging with life and with art and with beauty, but it's also in a way resisting the disciplinary, and that's part of our notion of wild. And I think that that's also like very much part of some of your works. Maybe we haven't talked about that so much, but it would be nice if you could say something about that kind of resistance or opposition to discipline.
It's like this is kind of unintentional, or it is unintentional, and it's somehow like instinctive, but like if you look from like whatever situation from nature's point of view, for example, the city, if you look it from nature's point of view, so actually some kind of like central government or the very strong hierarchies, they are like the most far away, and they become like red, or this kind of like the energy what they have is very destructive. And then just with human realm, when you come closer, well, the closest is like a kind of native people, then comes maybe farmers and guys in illegal settlements, and they are like closest to you, and they are the ones you can sort of talk with. It's like when you go to the other end, to the central governments and so on, it feels like waste of time. And like, yeah, so like in this kind of cases, like Treasure Hill talking with this grandmother, so the answers were very fast and like very exact, and like I could react for them. But if I would go and ask those same questions for the central government, I would get some kind of like a nonsense. And like there would never be like this real answer. So I'm not saying, I'm not really so that I would like to destroy the central governments and so on, but I don't value them much. It's okay to have infrastructure and so on, but like when that is mixed with some kind of like human power ambitions, so seems to be not so productive.
Yeah.
Your architecture is causing me kind of deep curiosity in kind of imagining how it could be if it was in a scale that would cover a city or something.
I want to do that.
Yeah, this intertwinement of nature and
I really want to ruin the whole city.
Yeah, it's kind of a wild city.
Kind of a wild, yeah, it's kind of a wild city. Yeah. But it's totally doable, and that's like it's not planning. It's something very, very different, but it's totally doable. And I think the cities are quite easy for that.
Yeah.
They're mechanical machines at the moment, but the key question for sustainable future is like how to ruin the city, how to turn it into an organic machine, so that the city is part of nature, and then we are done.
I think this is a great thought, maybe to close. We can probably cannot make it any better or any more interesting than saying that the question is how to ruin the city, and it's certainly not about planning. We don't know what it is, but it's not about planning, but it's about how to ruin the city and make it into an organic machine, as you have said. I think it's really lovely it's been really lovely to listen to the stories in depth, and also to be able to be allowed to mess around with them and to discuss them with you, and to mix them with some of our thoughts as well. And for that, I really thank you, Marco, for taking your time and joining us, and of course, Anna, thanks a lot for being along and co-host and discussing together. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's I don't know. Thank you, Anna. It's like it's quite amazing that we are in this like different places. I'm in Finland at the moment, and but I can feel your mind. So it's very promising.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Very promising.
Yeah. Thank you all.
I mean, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a very nice evening and see you next week.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.